Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Welcome back. It has been a while since we put a video out. What, 3 months? 4 months? It's been some time. There's been a couple of reasons for that. To get started on this project, I quickly realized I needed some tools. The tools I needed, it was quite a bit. First and foremost, I needed a good compressor. I do not have a good compressor here to use, so I had to go buy one of those. I needed tools to get into tight spaces to cut metal out. And I wish I could buy some skill, but unfortunately they were all out of the shelves on sheet metal skills. So we had to learn some of this on our own. And heck man, I don't even know how to weld. So we had to learn how to weld, and I am still learning. You guys that weld sheet metal and rust repair on a regular basis, hats off to you guys, because I have struggled. It has been frustrating. I could do all the bench welding I wanted to with fresh metal. As soon as I got to this pig, the very first weld I went to lay down, I blew a hole right through it. So it's been a learning curve, to say the least. But nonetheless, we put our head down, we're persevering, we're going to keep digging at it. Right now, on this episode, we've got the lower inner cowl put on, the reinforcement plate, and we've got the toe board put in. The toe board is not final welded in. I've just got it held in with sheet metal screws. For the time being, I want to move on to the driver's side and do the same thing I did to the passenger side. And then once we cut the old floor out, put the new floor in, then I can get those toe boards sitting where I need them to, and then we can glue them into place. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. I have no idea what I recorded. This I am shooting after the work has been done on here. So we'll have to edit it, put it together, and it's good to be back. So as you can see, we've got our sheet metal here. Here's our floor. Our trunk piece came in. We have an issue with the floor. This piece right here is supposed to be bent back at a 30 degree angle. It's all creased. That section right there is really, this thing really took a hard hit somewhere in shipping. Not quite sure when it happened. The original plan was to try to fix it, but the more I look at it, it's kind of a pretty critical part of the floor. We got bracing that's going to end up coming down, sitting right here, and same on the other side over there. We got the trunk floor that's going to sit up on top of this. So I'm working with a certain company, and we're going to see what we can come up with here. Maybe remedy this. Might send a new one, might send this one back. I don't know yet. It's all in the works, so we'll see what happens there. So we're inside the car. Started cutting some of this out. This right here was their patch. This is what I ran into here. It's the original floor. They just put a piece of metal over the top of it. It's the underside, and then they brazed it. I don't know how well you can see that, but this was all brazed in. This piece actually sat basically right here. So we got that cut out. Got a lot of it cut out. I wanted to be careful in this area here. We've got the cage nut that sits right in there. We got to get that out and replace that, which is no big deal. Kind of getting these surfaces cleaned up. I will cut along this tape line, and we will fit our new toe board. Just sitting right back there, holding my mask for right now, my face shield. But before we do that, we need to do some repair work in that area right there. And actually it's going to be this way on both sides. Both sides of the car are pretty rotten when you get to that area. But we'll get that taken care of. And then kind of the plan is to get the toe boards in, get the cage nut replaced, get the toe boards in on both sides of the car here. And then what I would like to do is use the body mount points, run a piece of square tubing from one end to the other, and that is where my jack stands are going to sit. And then we'll level the car out this way, and then we'll also level the car out front to back off the rocker panel before we actually cut the floor out and put our structure and everything in. I think I'm going to leave the doors on think I'm going to leave the doors on throughout this process. Thought about taking them off, but I think I'm going to leave them on so I can make sure the door is still open and closed, and really there's no need for me to take the doors off. So that's where we're at. Cage nut out. Nice rusted stud. Not sure if that's the way to do this. That's how I'm doing it. This is not instructional. Yeah, we got this replacement cage nut. We got this guy here. And see, it's quite a bit longer. I think I'm going to cut that. So we've got this section of the floor cut out. We've got this all cleaned up. We put a new cage nut in there. Just cut it along. Put a new nut in. What we ended up doing is there is a reinforcement plate that sits right here. And as you can see, it was rotted underneath. It was rotted right here, so we had to get all that off. What we need to do is we need to get in here. We need to get this section cut. Inside this cowl, it is really good shape. I don't want to cut any more out of this than I have to. So we ended up buying a panel for this. But before I go any further, I need to get some light on this situation. I can't see a whole lot. We need to get our heater box out of here. We need to get this insulation out. I've already caught this thing on fire once. Not on fire, but it started smoking because I got some sparks up in there. And then the cowl, I don't know how well you can see, but this is all really pretty solid inside this cowl. So I don't really want to cut out any more than what I have to. The piece we got is an entire piece. Now this section right here has to be replaced on the car, but I am not going to need this whole section. So what I think I'd like to do, and I don't really want to be up this high. In all honesty, I'd really like to just kind of come straight across over here. And then I don't know what I'm going to do here yet. I could cut it straight across over here, and then once it's in half, just cut what I need. So that's going to be this section right here. It doesn't look real bad from the outside, but when you start getting, let's see if I can get an angle on this here. But when you start getting up in here, it's all soft and really flimsy. Can't really weld anything to it. We need to get the seam sealer out of here. Need to get a blower motor off. So that is what we're going to be working on today. And then we'll make a decision on what we're going to cut out. Alright, as you can see, we've got the blower motor out. Now if you look down in here, you can see how solid all that is down in there. And a lot of times these are rotted. And this is why I don't want to cut a whole lot out of this. I would like to keep, man, I'd like to keep my cut maybe somewhere in here. Because there is a lot of good metal. I mean, really from here up. So we'll have to we'll dig out all the seam seal here. I really start stripping these down, really see what how they're put together. Really quite simple how they put them together. It's the deepest I've ever been. Alright, here's where we're sitting on the Chevelle so far. We've cut out this lower section of the cowl here. I've got to clean this up a little bit more, clean this bracket up a little bit more. Definitely got to clean this edge up right here quite a bit. Down here I need to straighten some of this shit out. I need to figure out what the heck I'm going to do here yet. Once I get all that cleaned up, we'll get the other piece cut and we'll start fitting, and we'll be back with updates. Alright, I think we finally got our first piece fitted. The lower cowl. Got a pretty good fit along there. That's pretty good right up in here. We got a reinforcement plate that goes on top of this shed. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. We got our vent that goes in. Let's see if I can. Some batch holes. Let's see, where is it? Right there. That in, all our holes line up. Yeah, I think we'll pull this off. We'll treat the back of it. Pull these out. We'll get in here. We'll treat all of this with some POR 15 or POR 15, however you pronounce it. We'll let that dry, and then we'll get our holes punched. I've got it traced out. Camera's all over the place here. I've got a couple of markings on the back, so we'll just drill a couple holes here. I used to work in one-handed. And then we'll drill a couple holes right here, and those will be our spot welds that will go on this bracket here and that brace there. I keep calling them brackets, these braces. Alright, so we've got the inside all coated with POR 15. I do have some areas here that I'm going to have to hit with some weld through primer. God, I really wanted to clean this up a little bit more, but it's really starting to get kind of thin. I don't want to keep digging in. I'm afraid I'm going to blow right through that. Got my piece. I think I'm ready to go here. We'll get this one last test fit. There we go. These locations line up really well with the braces that are back behind there. The factory had 2 of them here, had 3 of them here, so I'm going to do the same. I probably got more spot welds here than what the factory had. That's okay. Alright with that. This is all rusted out behind this on this piece, and then the reinforcement plate that went over it. And let's test our vent one last time. This should be my final fit. Pops in. All the mounting holes line up pretty good. I think we're ready to glue it. Alright, so we got our panel tack welded in here. I got 4 tacks up front or on top. We've got spot welds put in. Still got to do the bottom. We've got some tacks in over there. we got our plug welds to do. We got 3 of them to do here, 2 of them to do here, and then finish stitching all this in. It's nice to actually start welding on this. I've never welded before, so this is my first effort. Yeah, we're gonna finish this up. Let's get the rest of this tacked on. Alright, we are finally to a point where we can start fitting our toe boards. See what we're doing. So we got our reinforcement plate put on, it's welded in. I'm happy with how this turned out. Man, what a big difference from what the car used to be in that area. I had to go back and look at pictures. You start looking at something for so long and you kind of forget where you started, and it's nice to go back and look and kind of keep yourself motivated from a before and an after standpoint. I have to do that sometimes. So for a toe board, let's get this thing in. What do we got here? This thing sit down. So there's some areas right up in here. I want to do some trimming here before I run some sheet metal screws in this thing. We got a trim up here. I think I'm going to make a slice right here. We're going to get that to draw in, and I'm going to make a cut right here. As you can see, there's a good size gap all the way through that. And the reason I want to cut this is when we go to put the floor on, the floor sits over the top on this ledge, and I need to have a notch here so the floor can actually get into this area. And I'd rather cut it out now instead of when it's all welded in. So this is where we're sitting. Let's get this thing fitted. Alright, so we've got our floor pan in here, our toe board. We've got it fitted in. I got a couple sheet metal screws in it. I think for right now, this is how I'm going to leave the toe board. I am not going to weld this thing in yet. I think I'm going to go ahead and get started over here on the driver's side and do the exact same thing that we did over here on the passenger side. I've got a little bit of touching up to do with the welder, but I do not want to weld this pan in quite yet, because once I put the floor in here, then I can adjust all this and make sure everything is sitting where it needs to sit. So I think this is how I'm going to leave it for the time being. We'll go the driver's side, we'll do the same work we just did over here, and then once we test fit the floor, then I'm going to final weld these toe boards in. So I think that's where we're going to call it good for right now. So all in all, I am pretty happy with the way that this has turned out. Like I said, I've never done any of this before. We're just jumping into it, taking our time with it. Man, what a big difference from how it first started out. That area was so rotten. And actually, when we get to the driver's side, and you can kind of see, I mean, we got the same thing going on over here. We got a lot of work to do over here. right up in that area there. I'm going to have to get into the tunnel quite a bit more than the other side, but it's going to be a lot of the same over here. We'll get the emergency brake pedal out, we'll get the steering column out. Yeah, now that we have an idea of what we're doing, not really, but we're just going to do the opposite side. Then once we get that done, then we can start getting on to the floor. And I am really excited about getting this floor cut out, getting a big piece of sheet metal in here. We still got to coat everything and seam seal and all that good stuff, but we'll be doing all that all at the same time. Well, you know, it feels good to be making some progress on the Chevelle. It may be slow, but we're learning as we go, and eventually we will get there. We will get the sheet metal work done on this thing. We will get this thing on its new chassis. I want to thank you guys for watching. Hopefully in the next video, it won't be 4 months from now, and we'll see you then. Have a good one.